The mirror in the hotel room. The rain had been unrelenting since sunrise. A dull, gray curtain swept across the windshield as Daniel Travers pulled off the interstate and followed a narrow road into a small New Hampshire town he couldn't recall seeing on any map. His GPS had glitched an hour ago, frozen on a loading screen. He should have kept driving, but his eyes burned from hours behind the wheel, and his head throbbed with fatigue. That's when he spotted the sign. Lakeview Inn. Vacancy nightly rates. The place looked like something from the 1950s. A two-story building with flaking paint and warped siding, it leaned slightly under the weight of the years. The neon vacancy sign blinked lazily in red against the misty dusk. Tired and irritated, Daniel parked, grabbed his duffel bag, and entered the lobby. The clerk was a gaunt older man in a brown cardigan, his eyes glassy and motionless behind thick glasses. "Just need a room for the night," Daniel said, trying to shake the water off his coat. The man nodded slowly and turned to a set of brass keys hanging behind him. "Room 217, he muttered, pulling the key down and placing it on the counter. "No loud music. No guests after midnight. And—" He hesitated. Daniel raised an eyebrow. "And?" The clerk leaned closer. His breath was cold somehow and smelled faintly of copper. "Don't cover the mirror." Daniel stared at him. "What?" The old man didn't repeat himself. He just pushed the key toward Daniel with a trembling hand and rang the service bell once, like it was final. Daniel made his way down a dimly lit corridor, the faded red carpet muffling his footsteps. Room 217 was at the far end, across from a window that looked out onto the dark, rain-slick street. The door creaked open easily. Inside, the room was dated but clean. A double bed with a plaid comforter, a nightstand, an old CRT television, and, dominating the far wall, was a floor-to-ceiling mirror. It was framed in black wood carved with strange symbols, tiny scratches, lines, swirls that almost looked like runes. Daniel stepped closer. His reflection stared back, but something felt off. The glass seemed thicker than normal. His image lagged a second behind his movements. When he turned his head quickly, the reflection was just a hair too slow. "Jet lag," he told himself. "You're tired." He tossed his duffel onto the bed and took a long, hot shower. When he returned to the room, towel around his waist, the mirror seemed even more unnerving in the low light. He didn't remember leaving the bathroom door open, yet there it was, wide open behind him in the reflection. He turned around. The door was closed. He stared at the mirror. The bathroom door behind his reflection remained wide open. He grabbed the towel from his neck and flung it over the mirror. The lights immediately flickered. The TV turned on static, roaring from the speakers. "Jesus," Daniel muttered, stepping back and yanking the towel away. The room fell silent. The lights steadied. The TV powered off by itself. The mirror showed him standing there, pale and wet, breathing hard. Then, slowly, his reflection smiled. Daniel hadn't smiled. He stood, frozen, eyes wide, heart pounding, waiting for the reflection to catch up, waiting for it to fade. But it didn't. It just smiled. He stepped back. So did the reflection. He waved. It waved. He frowned. It frowned. The smile was gone, but the lag was no longer there. "Stop being weird," Daniel whispered to himself. He turned off the lamp, crawled into bed, and tried to sleep. But sleep never really came. Every time he opened his eyes, the mirror glowed faintly in the dark. He swore it moved, that the room was subtly different, his reflection staring at him when he wasn't looking, then pretending to sleep when he rolled over. At 3:11 a.m., Daniel sat up. He could hear whispering. It was coming from behind the mirror. He slowly got out of bed and approached it. The symbols on the frame pulsed faintly, like they were alive. He placed a palm against the glass. Cold. He leaned in close. "Hello?" The mirror rippled like water, and a hand shot out, grabbing his wrist and yanking it toward the surface. He screamed, pulled away, stumbled backward, and fell. When he looked up, the mirror was still. His reflection stared back, perfectly calm, but his wrist had bruises, thin, long, bone-pale finger marks around it. Daniel backed into the corner and waited for sunrise, eyes locked on the mirror. The next morning, he demanded to speak to the clerk. "Did you see it?" the old man asked, without surprise. "What the hell is wrong with that mirror?" The man sighed, looking toward the hallway. "Some rooms remember things. Room 217 remembers too much. That mirror belonged to the original owner, Nathaniel Lake. He hanged himself in front of it, said it showed him truths. People who stay in that room don't always leave. Some get replaced. Daniel felt the blood drain from his face. Replaced? The clerk looked at him closely, as if trying to decide something. Check your shadow next time you walk in sunlight. Make sure it moves with you. Some guests, their shadows linger behind. Daniel didn't stay another night. He bolted from the hotel, drove non-stop until the town vanished behind the mist and trees. But that night, in a cheap motel 2 states away, the bathroom mirror didn't reflect him brushing his teeth. It showed him sleeping in a room with a plaid comforter and smiling. Oh, the nightmare started after that. He dreamed of standing in front of the mirror, unable to move, of watching himself climb out, watching himself step into his life, take his job, call his mother, walk his dog, kiss his girlfriend. Only he wasn't dreaming. He began waking up in strange places. In a stairwell with bleeding feet. In a pond with his clothes soaked. In a motel bathroom with blood on the mirror and a strange name on his driver's license. Then the photographs changed. Old family albums showed someone who looked like him, but the eyes were different, meaner, hungrier, the smile just a little too wide. His social media accounts posted things he didn't remember typing. And when he visited his girlfriend's apartment, she looked afraid. "I saw you this morning," she said, not letting him in. "You came by already." "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did. You just stood outside, staring, and then you smiled and walked away without saying a word." Daniel left without answering. He checked himself into a motel again. Room 8. No mirrors. But that night, the mirror on the TV screen reflected someone else. Not him. Someone wearing his skin. Daniel broke the screen. But it kept happening. Reflections in puddles, glass doors, car windows. All of them smiling when he wasn't. He went back to Lakeview Inn. The clerk was gone. The place was boarded up. The vacancy sign shattered on the pavement. He broke into room 217. The mirror was still there, and someone was standing on the other side, waiting. It looked like him, but it wasn't. It wore a smile that didn't belong. And then it stepped forward again. This time, Daniel didn't scream. He ran at the mirror, punching it with everything he had. The glass cracked, then shattered. The other Daniel screamed a distorted, wet noise as shards sliced through his face. The world seemed to bend. The symbols on the frame bled black tar. And then, silence. Daniel opened his eyes. The mirror was gone. Just an empty wall. He left the hotel again. This time, he felt whole. For a few weeks, life went back to normal. Until he caught his reflection in a subway window. And it blinked after he did. Now Daniel doesn't look in mirrors. He covers them with sheets, paint, anything he can find. But they still watch. Sometimes, when he blinks, he hears them whisper. Other times, he swears he sees himself walking just ahead of him in a crowd. And once, on a live stream during a Zoom call, his reflection spoke before he did. He's been running since. But tonight, he's staying in a cheap roadside motel, room 3. There's a mirror across from the bed. It's uncovered. Because this time, Daniel wants to talk to it, wants to ask the reflection if he's still real. The mirror flickers. The reflection smiles and speaks. "You're not the first.